First and foremost, all thanks and praises unto our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Wabrakakwadash. Peace, blessings, and much respect to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, on down to the rest of the elders who rule well within Israel. Salutations to the hopeful elect throughout the four corners of this whole entire earth, no matter where, whom they may be, or what they may look like, pushing out this purified truth. To the rest of the church who believe as well, you men who may not be teachers or prophets, you women, sons, and daughters also. The water, which means thank you to Yahweh Shai, because without him enduring and going to that cross for the world of Israel and the world of Israel alone, none of this would even be possible whatsoever. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 1 and verse 1, as it is written. The burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see. O Lord, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear, even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save? So Habakkuk was in the spirit of complaining. And it's funny because a lot of women of today, they'll say that a man who complains is effeminate. They'll tell you, oh, that's only what a female can do. A man shouldn't be complaining. A man's supposed to just suck it up and move on. Well, according to the Bible, many great men have cried and complained. The scriptures even tell you that's the spirit his chosen would be in, okay? O Lord Yahweh, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear? And we understand, according to prophecy, we're not going to be complaining and crying too much longer. And even through our cries and our complaints, we still rejoice as well. There's a balance. Even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save. So we're still in captivity. We're still in the position we've been in since we've come into the truth, in terms of we're still captivated in Babylon. We're still under the umbrella of the Edomite in his society. Okay? But we're even closer now than ever concerning our salvation. And the spirit that Habakkuk was in, being in the spirit of complaining, that's the spirit of the righteous. Okay? So now that I've read that, let's touch on Ezekiel, chapter 9 and verse 4. And the Lord Yahweh said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh that cry, for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. That's the spirit that Habakkuk was in. That's the spirit that Ezekiel was in. That's the spirit that Jeremiah was in. That's the spirit that Job was in, and so on. Many great men were in the spirit of complaining, wanting to get out of captivity. Many of our people don't see that we're in captivity because we don't have physical chains around our wrists and our ankles and our necks. Okay? And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, being our people, and set a mark, that mark going into the mark of exemption. That mark is going to save those from the destruction to come. This mark is different from the mark of the beast written in the book of Revelations. And set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry, like Habakkuk, for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. So there's a whole lot of wickedness going on in this world today. And us being in this ministry, we often find ourselves complaining all the time. You find yourself miserable sometimes because you're surrounded by all this foolishness. Okay? We complain all the time. Let's touch on the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, and verse 8. I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. So the Lord is starting to work. The Lord is bringing that action because he is a man of action. He is not a man that he should lie. But through his patience, a lot of people feel like they can do whatever they want, according to the book of Ecclesiastes 8 and 11 through about 13. Neither will I suffer them in those things, in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. So a righteous man should be always complaining. Why? Because we're in a world full of wickedness. Nothing in this world should really make you feel content and wanting to stay here, wanting to hold off on the kingdom of heaven. This world is useless right now, man. Those who are in power are a bunch of cucks. effeminates, sodomites. Okay? A lot of men justify the wickedness of these women. They pass laws for these women to get away with their foolishness. Women are kicking it with sodomites, being best friends with sodomites, but then we'll see a man and will disrespect him. We'll go on a female's night out with no men, talking about they're not gay. They'll call men gay all day long, but then they'll have a female gathering with just women, getting drunk, getting tipsy, dancing on each other, getting naked. One tries to hit on the other. Girl, I ain't like that. She's like, girl, have fun for once. You always acting like that, right? We know the wickedness that you women do. There's a lot of wickedness happening in this world right now. But see, the souls of the elect, we're in the spirit of complaining. Being in this world is just full of misery and grief. Now, if everything was righteous, if people did things right, there would be no need for complaining. But we complain because we're not in the spirit of this world. We are in the spirit of being opposite of this world. So we always find ourselves in that spirit of just wanting the kingdom of heaven, constantly complaining. So don't let no woman say, as a man, you shouldn't be complaining. A man in his right mind would be complaining right now because we are not in our rulership. We are not in our time. We are in the age of the heathen, at the head of that being Esau. I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness. So the Lord's been pretty patient, which they profanely commit, but his patience is running out. His patience has gone on for a very long time, and people have took advantage of it. They've abused it. So he's not going to keep holding on to his patience. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. And a lot of wicked Israelites, sin to them is like a sport. They exercise themselves in it. They love doing it. They like to sin as if they're scoring points. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, being the Lord's elect. And the souls of the just complain continually. So the spirit that we're in is the spirit of complaining. People like to think we're just some Debbie Downers. We're negative. You guys always talking about being in slavery and talking about the past. It's time to move on. No, the souls of the just are going to complain. All right? That's the righteous spirit to be in. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes. Matter of fact, I'll hold off on that one. I'll get that in a minute. Let's touch on the book of Romans, chapter 7, and verse 23. But I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my members, because we're not perfect. Sin is within us. As much as we hate it, that alone makes us complain. The fact that we're imperfect. O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death? So why would you want to remain in a body of death? Why would you want to remain being captivated, being subject to death? Being subject to weak things, being subject to weak elements. I thank God through Yahweh Shai Mashiach our Lord. So then with the mind, I myself serve the law of God, but with the flesh, the law of sin. So we need to be changed. Being in this flesh, we're miserable. We're wretched men. We're miserable men. Okay? So we should be looking forward to the kingdom of heaven. We should be wanting better for ourselves. Now I'm going to go to the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7 and verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. So a wise man will be in the spirit of complaining, crying unto the Lord, not justifying the wickedness that's going on, not trying to join the crowd, okay? Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. So you might feel a certain way. You might be mad about your oppression, but Esau come and put $1 million in your bank account. Suddenly you ain't tripping no more. But your people are still subject to the oppression that they're in. But you feel like, well, I'm good. So taking a gift really corrupts your mind. All right? It's one thing if you have self-control, but most people, they get bribed by gifts. Okay? Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart, being your mind. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. So we're looking forward to the kingdom. We're looking forward to the beginning of our kingdom and the end of this kingdom. And the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. And we're patiently waiting on our kingdom being in this proud ass society. Be not hasty in the spirit to be angry, for anger resteth in the bosom of fools. So surely a wise man's going to be mad, but you're not supposed to be hasty in the spirit to where now you being carnal. You're getting into fist fights all the time. You're a brawler, right? You're punching holes in the wall all the damn time. You're punching cracks in TV screens, right? You're breaking windows. Then when you come down from your anger, you're like, damn, how am I going to fix that now? Okay? Being angry can cause you to do foolish things. It's not the anger itself, but sometimes the reaction of anger can cause us to do things that we may not be able to make up for. Okay? Wanting to grab arms and go against the government because you're angry at the oppression of our people. We shouldn't be angry in the sense of wanting to take action, going out of our way. Now, if someone approaches you and threatens you, and you need to defend yourself, yes, that's one thing. But don't go out of your way to bring harm to somebody else because of anger. All right? If an altercation, a physical altercation can be avoided, it's always best to avoid it. No matter how good you can fight, things can always go left and not right. Okay? But seeing that we're in this captivity, all this complaining that we're going through, we have to bear it. We have to bear our cross. Okay? Jeremiah chapter 10. Jeremiah chapter 10 is 19. Woe is me for my hurt, my wound is grievous. But I said, truly, this is a grief, and I must bear it. So we have to bear the grief that comes with being in this ministry. The grief that comes with being rejected. You know, people bucking up against us, making us out to be the villain, slandering our names, whatever it may be. There's a lot that we have to bear. Because understanding that the Heavenly Father is not going to let any of these wicked people escape, that should be enough to keep us in the spirit of like, yeah, everything good. Everything all good, man. Woe is me for my hurt. My wound is grievous. But I said, truly, this is a grief, and I must bear it. People were seeking out Jeremiah's life, lying on him, locked him up, okay? Wishing death on him. These are things that you may have to bear being in this ministry, because it's us against this whole world. And as much as we mourn, knowing that we have Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai should still bring us joy, okay? Let's go to John chapter 16 and 21. A woman, when she is in travail, has sorrow, because her hour is come. But as soon as she is delivered of the child, she remembereth no more the anguish for joy that a man is born into the world. So one thing about prosperity, it makes you forget affliction. And affliction makes you forget prosperity. Right now, we're in this hell. We're subject to payments and all these other things. Our bodies can get sick. Our bodies can get hurt. Okay? But once we're delivered from this captivity, once Yahweh Shai takes us up, we're not going to be pondering on this world anymore. The anguish is going to be like it never happened. Okay? And ye now therefore have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice. Your joy no man take it from you. So right now we complain, we sigh, looking forward to the kingdom of heaven, and we're still here. But once we're delivered, all this sorrow is going to be as if it never was. Okay? We have to consider that. Everything is all good, regardless of the moment. And in that day, ye shall ask me nothing. Verily, verily, I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall ask the Father in my name, he will give it you. So everything is all good. Everything is covered. So with all the burdens that we go through, that we're faced with, it's okay. Because the reward is going to be far greater. It's going to be as if none of this ever happened. With all the tears that brothers may cry, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is going to remember every last tear you've ever dropped, man. And he's going to turn that tear into joy. So as much as, you know, we complain and we go through these burdens, and it feels like sometimes these videos ain't getting nowhere with these people. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is not going to forget our labor of love. But let's touch on the book of Psalms. Chapter 126 and verse 6. He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him. So right now, we might be weeping. We're complaining. We're sighing and crying. But the kingdom of heaven is at hand. We're going to reap what we sow. We sow that righteous seed. Righteousness is going to be sown. Okay, let me jump back to verse 5. This is the verse I wanted to start with. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. So we sow in tears. There are times you literally come to tears. No one sees you. It's just you, Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. And you're in your tears, weeping. Things seem heavy. Your burdens seem too much. Okay? But imagine your tears being the water that's nurturing the seed that's going to grow into the kingdom. Okay? They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. He that goeth forth and weepeth, bearing precious seed, shall doubtless come again with rejoicing, bringing his sheaves with him. Okay, and we're bearing that precious seed. And sometimes that precious seed gets watered with our tears, with all the afflictions that we go through. But it's going to prosper. It's going to grow into a righteous kingdom. All right? We cry. We do things that come from being in this flesh. We understand that. Okay? You might be watching a stand-up comedy. You might be watching something that makes you laugh. But then something happens to where suddenly you feel that weight come down upon you again, because now you're thinking about going to work later that night or going to work the next day. You're thinking about your kids who you haven't seen. You're thinking about your woman that you once loved, what she's doing because she's not with you no more. You're thinking about how you're going to pay this bill because you're jobless or your check didn't come through, right? Certain things can just cross your mind and all of a sudden you're back to heaviness, okay? Even in laughter, the heart is sorrowful. You be laughing at a stand-up comedy, whether it be Dave Chappelle, you might be watching Corey Holcomb or Godfrey or something, right? You might be watching Chris Rock. You might be watching dude's name just escaped me too. I can't think of his name right now. But you might be watching Ari Spears. You might be watching certain things that give you a chuckle, but you go right back to that heaviness because you're in the flesh. And that reason alone is reason to want to be delivered. A negative thought is kind of like food coloring. Just a little bit of food coloring can turn water into whatever color that food coloring is. If you take a drop of orange food coloring and put it in a bottle of water, that bottle of water is going to turn orange. So negative thoughts is kind of like a drop of food coloring. Okay? Just one little negative thought come through, and now all of a sudden you're back to heaviness. Okay? If you ask me, negative thoughts weigh far more heavy than righteous thoughts. And I think that's why it's easier to have heavier thoughts fall on you. Okay? It takes a little more effort to think positively. It doesn't take as much effort to let heavy things fall on you, because it's like gravity is working with it, you know? Metaphorically speaking. In laughter, the heart is sorrowful, and the end of that mirth is heaviness. Let's go to Psalms chapter 6 and verse 6. I am weary with groaning all the night. Make I my bed to swim. I water my couch with tears. And brothers know that. You're going to have them days where you cry. You're going to have them days where, you know, you got snot bubbles coming down your nostrils, man. Mine eye is consumed because of grief. Because of grief, it waxeth old because of all mine enemies. We have a whole lot of enemies, man. We have more enemies than what we even know. People have smiled in our face. We like, man, he's cool. The whole time that man disrespecting you, man. The whole time he wishing death on you. You're like, yeah, he cool. He cool. We got a lot of enemies, man. Depart from me, all ye workers of iniquity, for the Lord Yahweh hath heard the voice of my weeping. And we weep in tears, man. But see, all this isn't in vain. This is just the lot of the righteous. It's not our time right now. And through our misery, through our grieving, we still rejoice. We still have happiness. Because everything ain't always, gray clouds and rain. It's just through this path those days come. The Lord hath heard my supplication. The Lord Yahweh will receive my prayer. Let all my enemies be ashamed and sore vexed. Let them return and be ashamed suddenly. So as we're going through our vexations and afflictions, the tables are going to turn and they're going to suffer. Okay? The Lord is the one causing our grief, and he's going to be the one to end our grief. And we have to endure that. We have to endure those things. We have to keep our integrity, just like Job did. As hard as it could be. Job chapter 13 and verse 15. Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. But I will maintain mine own ways before him. So we have to keep our integrity, just like our forefather Job, who's back today. One of you brothers out there is Job. All right? And we constantly go through these vexations. But just like Job, we have to endure. And I'm going to close it with this here. And let it land where it lands. So this is not Job. This is the book of, where was I going? James, I believe. James chapter 5 and 10. Take my brethren, the prophets, who have spoken in the name of the Lord, for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience. Behold, we count them happy which endure. Ye have heard of the patience of Job, and have seen the end of the Lord, that the Lord is very pitiful and of tender mercy. So sometimes we'll get drugged through the mud, and it seems like it's it for us, like everything's just against us. But then if you endure that, you'll find out that was only for a season, and you end up better off than what you were before and during that moment, because that's how the Lord works. Just like with working out. Okay, if you're trying to get stronger, you have to deal with resistance training, just like I was just doing before I did this lesson. I was doing some resistance training. Okay, and as much as it hurts, it really shows you the body's weakness, but through the body's weakness, you're being made stronger. And it's just like us. As much as we have our weaknesses, low key, we're being made stronger. I pray that this lesson, it was simple and edifying. All praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Wabrakakwadash. Shalom.